Think of it like a one-way window for Face ID sensors hiding underneath. And if that works, suddenly Face ID doesn't need to live on the surface anymore. Now, here's where things get interesting and slightly messy. Some reports say the iPhone 18 Pro will have no dynamic island at all, just a single pinhole camera in the top left corner. Others say the dynamic island stays, but gets much smaller. Analysts like Ross Young and Mark Gurman are leaning toward a slimmed down island, not a full deletion. And honestly, that makes more sense, right? Apple loves gradual change. They don't rip features out, they shrink them until you stop noticing. So the most realistic outcome is this: Face ID goes under the display, the front camera stays visible, and the dynamic island quietly becomes less of a thing. Which leads to a very Apple question. If the phone still looks almost the same as the iPhone 17 Pro, why bother? Because the front of the phone isn't just about looks anymore. It's about content immersion, video, games, AR, Apple Vision integration. Every pixel matters when your ecosystem is pushing spatial content. And that brings us to the camera change that sounds insane on paper. The iPhone 18 Pro is rumored to get a mechanical iris on at least one rear camera, variable aperture, something Android phones have flirted with and photographers love hearing about. Right now, iPhones shoot at a fixed aperture f1.78 all the time. Bright light, dark room, doesn't matter. With variable aperture, the phone could physically adjust how much light enters the lens, wider for low light, narrower for sharper depth control. In theory, this gives you DSLR style control. In practice, here's the uncomfortable truth no one likes to say out loud: iPhone sensors are still small. That means even with a mechanical iris, the depth of field gains will be subtle. You'll get more control, yes, better highlights, possibly better motion handling, but it's not suddenly turning your phone into a cinema camera. This is a pro user refinement, not a revolution. And that's actually the theme of the entire iPhone 18 Pro, because the real power move isn't the camera, it's the chip. The iPhone 18 Pro is expected to run the A20 Pro, built on TSMC's 2 nanometer process. But the bigger deal isn't the size, it's the packaging. Apple is reportedly moving to something called wafer-level multi-chip module packaging. Translation: the RAM gets integrated directly onto the same wafer as the CPU, GPU, and neural engine. No interposer, no separate memory stack. Everything lives together. Why does this matter? Shorter distances mean faster communication. Faster communication means better performance at lower power. Lower power means better battery life and less heat means sustained performance, the thing phones struggle with most. This is especially important for Apple Intelligence and on-device AI tasks. Neural workloads hate latency. This architecture reduces it. And there's a sneaky bonus: a smaller chip footprint frees up internal space. Space Apple can use for thermal improvements, battery reshaping, or something we haven't been told yet. Now, let me ask you something, and I want your honest take in the comments. Would you rather Apple kill the dynamic island completely or shrink it until it's basically invisible? Because personally, I think Apple's going to keep it just small enough that it stops being annoying. And that ties into Apple's release strategy. The iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max are expected in September 2026, but not alone. Apple is reportedly planning a split launch cycle, with a foldable iPhone launching alongside the Pros and the regular iPhone 18 models delayed until early 2027. That tells us something important. The Pro models aren't just premium phones anymore. They're the platform testbeds: new display tech, new silicon architecture, new camera mechanics. The iPhone 18 Pro isn't designed to shock casual users. It's designed to quietly future-proof Apple's ecosystem. So when you look at these leaks: underscreen Face ID, variable aperture, 2 nanometer A20 Pro, don't think flashy upgrade. think infrastructure. Apple is laying the groundwork for what iPhones will look like for the next 5 years. Now, before we wrap this up, hit like if this breakdown actually clarified the leaks instead of just repeating headlines. It helps more than you think. And one last thing, if Apple nails under display Face ID, that technology doesn't stop at phones. It goes into iPads, Macs, wearables, anything with a screen and a face, which means the iPhone 18 Pro might not be the most exciting iPhone ever, but it might be the most important one Apple's built in years. If you want the next video breaking down Apple's foldable iPhone and why it's launching alongside the 18 Pro, it's already queued up for you. I'll see you there. Peace out. The iPhone 18 Pro just leaked, and this might be Apple's biggest front screen change since the notch died. Underscreen Face ID, a shifted camera hole, and a camera upgrade that sounds professional but might secretly be useless. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why Apple waited this long, what they're hiding under the glass, and why one of these leaks sounds way more impressive than it actually is. Because yes, according to multiple reports, the iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max are getting under display Face ID, the dynamic island may finally shrink or disappear, and Apple is experimenting with camera hardware that feels like it escaped from a DSLR. But the real story isn't what's changing, it's why Apple is doing it now. So let's break this down properly. This video is about the iPhone 18 Pro leaks, specifically underscreen Face ID, the new top left front camera placement, Apple's rumored variable aperture camera, and the A20 Pro chip built on TSMC's 2 nanometer process. Not speculation, not hype, just what's leaking, what's likely, and what actually matters if you're thinking about upgrading. Now let's start with the part that made everyone stop scrolling. Apple is testing under-screen Face ID for the iPhone 18 Pro using something called micro-transparent glass. And that phrase alone sounds like Apple marketing already wrote the keynote slide. Here's what's happening. Right now, Face ID works because infrared sensors blast dots at your face and read how they bounce back. Displays hate that. OLED panels scatter infrared light, distort it, and basically ruin the data. That's why Face ID has always lived inside a visible cutout. First the notch, then the dynamic island. But Apple is now testing a tiny region of the display that's engineered differently. It's still glass. It still lights up like the rest of the screen, but on a microscopic level, it's structured to let infrared light pass through cleanly.